This happened when I was about 12 or so. I still think about it sometimes, and it still unsettles me. My family owns several acres of corn in Iowa. Birds are actually pretty smart, so my mom made some very realistic scarecrows in order to fool them. The scarecrows had glass eyes glued onto their faces. They wore white gloves, old boots, and had fat bellies made of hay. When the wind blew, their skinny arms would dangle and jerk as if they were dancing. The scarecrows creeped me out, but I tried to act manly, like all 12-year-old boys did. I was not allowed to leave the house at night. When I asked why, my mom would come up with some vague excuse about how dangerous hobos lived out in the woods. But one night, I snuck out to see this girl who lived 2 miles down the road. I climbed into the hayloft of her dad's barn and waited for her. But she never showed up. Finally, I left. I walked through the cornfield alone. Just as I passed by a scarecrow, I heard a noise. The scarecrow was breathing. I will never forget that noise as long as I live. It was a low hiss, like someone was inhaling through a mouthful of hay and cloth. It turned its head towards me. It was a windy day and the scarecrow's arms twitched horribly, like a person convulsing. I was so fucking scared, I bolted straight out of there. I ran the rest of the way home, crawled into my bedroom window, and closed it after me. My room was dark. I stared out into the field, heart pounding. I reached for the flashlight that was in my nightstand. With shaking hands, I pointed it at the window, into the darkness outside. A form shuffled out of the cornfield. It wasn't a scarecrow, though. It was a man, an old hobo that I recognized. He walked down past the cornfield and disappeared into the woods. I hid under my covers. It was hot and hard to breathe, but I was pretty sure that I had successfully escaped. The neighbor girl went missing the next day. My mother was convinced that the old hobo had kidnapped her, but sadly, the police found no trace of her. That summer, the area around the scarecrow began to stink. It was a thick smell that coated your lungs, like iron rot and stinkweed. We ignored it for as long as we could, but as the days got hotter, the smell got worse. And eventually, my mother told me to take the scarecrow down. The scarecrow's head was a burlap sack stuffed full of hay. I faced my fear. With trembling hands, I cut the rope around the scarecrow's neck. I reached up and removed the sack. A human face stared back at me. It was the corpse of the neighbor girl. Her face was bloated, her eyes were 2 sunken pits of rot, and her mouth was stuffed full of hay. Hey guys, Unit 522 here, and I want to thank you very much for watching my video. I would appreciate it very much if you would share, like, and comment. And if you're new to this channel, become one with the Unity by hitting the subscribe button. If you have a scary story or experience that you want featured on this channel, you can always send it to my email or post it on the Free Horror Stories subreddit. The links for those can be found in the description below. If you would like to help out this channel even more, consider a PayPal donation. And for more updates, be sure to follow me on Twitter. There's nothing wrong with a little darkness in your life, as long as you never forget, there's always a reason to be afraid.